This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. Share this video with people. Maybe it'll help them understand what is happening around our world right now, especially here in the United States of America. This is basic problem reaction solution. Now, there's so many stories about these cities that are falling apart. You have to understand that this is being done deliberately. Problem, reaction, solution. Understand that motto, because that's the motto that these globalists play by. Their goal is to have artificial intelligence governance, okay? So smart city governance. They want technology to govern us, which in fact, of course, would enslave us. They've had this technology for a long period of time. They've been waiting for people to become so inundated with tech, to rely on tech so much so that they can't even think without tech, to move forward with building out large global prison cells that'll all be controlled via technology. So the only way that they could get people to change the way that we're living on a day in and day out basis, the only way that they're going to be able to implement this, because if they came out and they said, hey, we want smart city governance, the civilians would go, why do we need that? Everything's working fine. Our lives are perfectly fine. We don't want to change over to AI governance. So what they have to do is create these problems in order to make the civilians ask for this, or to make the civilians say, okay, the government's going to come in because there's too much crime, there's too much hatred, there's too many drugs running rampant, we need to clean up our cities. Well, the best solution is smart city governance, because again, all of the narratives you've been hearing about police officers and race, it all ties into this. Think about all of the small and large psychological operations they've been playing over the last couple of years, right? We've been trained to think that all police officers target black people, right? So police officers see skin color. We've been trained and we've seen with our own eyes drug addicts all over the cities, right? They're lining the cities up with these people. They're planting these people here and showing it to you on the news because the solution they have is smart city governance. That's the plan. That's what all of these elites meet and talk about every single time they go to Davos, Bilderberg, wherever. It's about smart city governance. It's about AI governance because it spreads outside of the cities eventually, but the test pilots are going to be in these cities, right? So if you look up smart cities and you look up crime in smart cities, all of the data that they're putting out there is about how smart city governance reduces crime. How convenient, right? Here's one. A recent study found that smart technology could help reduce crime by 30 to 40% and reduce response times for emergency services by 20 to 35%, making cities safer and emergency services more impactful, right? You may have heard other stories about the police not arriving on time, the police not showing up, shortage of police, all done by design. Our government is paying people to do things like you're about to see. So you may have heard these stories, which we're supposed to believe are just at random, right? Women online saying that they're getting punched in the face. That's right, punched in the face while they're walking around New York City. It's gone viral. It's all over the place. The mainstream media is covering it over and over and over again. And this is done by design. They want you to feel unsafe in these cities so that they could come in with the solution, which is AI governance. The government is paying, that's right, paying. I know it's hard for people to believe this. They're paying people to do these things. They're paying them and they're telling them, look, you're in debt to us. We're the government. No one's ever going to find out that we're paying you. You're going to go around and do these crimes and you're going to get away with these crimes. You could run amok. It could be like Grand Theft Auto for you. And these people are doing it. Of course, we know that they're using the migrant crisis as well that they've created to also plant seeds in people's heads who are conservative to want smart city governance. It works on both sides, okay? Look at these stories of what's going on around New York City. And anybody out there that thinks all of a sudden, men are just like, you know what? I'm going to run around the city today and I'm going to randomly punch women in the face and I'm going to go to jail for, maybe a couple years or maybe a couple months, whatever. It's totally worth it, right? Men all of a sudden just want to run around and punch people in the face, women specifically in the face in broad daylight in front of cameras, right? And then the government comes out, or the New York City's government comes out and they say, well, we don't know how to find these assailants, right? Oh, you don't know how to find them. They're on camera. Oh, well, they have something covering their face, so this isn't enough. We need to do more. And of course, that's where the digital ID and tracking your movements comes into play later on. But here's what's going on in New York.
More women are coming forward who say they're victims of random attacks while walking in the city. 4 women spoke with Inside Edition and say they were assaulted recently by strangers. Some were punched in the head or slapped in the face. One of the attacks was caught on camera. The victim, who is a model, says the assault happened in broad daylight.
I could sense on my right side that someone was quickly approaching from the other side of the street, and I had literally 1 second to look, and then I got punched in the side of my head right here.
Many of the victims are now posting videos on social media, sending warnings to other women. Their advice: take your headphones off, put down your phone, and be on extra alert of your surroundings.
It's Friday night and Greenwich Village is bustling, but also tense. Maliha and her friend are looking over their shoulder a little more than usual.
If I get punched, is someone going to stop and help me? It's scary.
We met them as they were talking about these TikTok videos.
Out of nowhere, this man just came up and hit me in the face.
I was hit in the head forcefully. It felt like a blunt object.
Young women sharing on the app this week horrific stories of being randomly sucker punched and hit in New York City, racking up millions of views. One of those women, Karina Dunford.
My head continued to hurt until after the police arrived, but the emotional toll was honestly pretty terrifying.
Police are now looking for this man, suspected in Tuesday's attack on the 24-year-old in Chelsea.
We officially have a concussion, a black eye, and a chipped tooth.
27-year-old Michaela Toninato is all banged up after she says she was punched in Greenwich Village Monday afternoon. Her accused attacker, Malik Maya, charged with misdemeanor assault and given a supervised release. Skibaki Stora is also charged in another one of the attacks, held on $10,000 bail. Lillian lives in the village.
It was only, I would say, in the last week where I was like, okay, I actually need to be mindful of my whereabouts, especially just in lower Manhattan.
The NYPD now tracking a string of similar attacks between March 17th and the 26th, but they say there's no evidence they're all connected.
We've all been alert all day, and as we normally would be.
It's a sobering reminder for Sarah and her friends.
It's reinforcing the fear that we feel every day.
I need to put my phone down. I need to make sure my surroundings, I need to make sure there's people around.
And though these TikTok videos are bringing to light a disturbing trend in New York City, it's only a glimpse. Felony assaults are up a considerable amount, according to crime statistics, more than 34% between 2020 and 2023.
So the stories are of violent random attacks. You have to remember, nothing on the news is real. Now, it doesn't mean that women aren't getting punched in the face like you saw in that CCTV, but it's likely being played out on both sides. The women influencers are going on TikTok and posting about it, knowing it'll go viral. They're just conveniently there, while they're, to get punched in the face. Then all these videos go all over the place. The news covers it. TikTok covers it. Plant seeds in your mind that cities are extremely dangerous. Cities are getting out of control. The liberals are playing their role of being completely incompetent by design. Again, it's easy to look at them because we all have such hatred towards these people who are trying to force all this on us. It's very easy to look at them and say they're idiots, but they're not. They're strategically doing it. These are master manipulators. So they're manipulating everybody out there into what they want, wanting what they want. Because again, like I said earlier, if they just came out and said, hey, we're just going to take down the whole infrastructure in the United States of America. We're going to change it all. Everything's going to be digital. People go, that's not fair. Because there's going to be older business owners. There's going to be small business. They don't want to adapt to that. They shouldn't have to adapt to that. There's freedom in this country. Well, now they're going to make people demand what they want. That's what problem, reaction, solution is. And the solution is AI governance. And that is total enslavement of all humanity through tech. People out there aren't paying attention to the narratives about AI taking over human jobs, AI eventually killing off humanity. No one's paying attention to it because they're so busy being distracted by one another and hating one another that they're eventually going to want AI because, again, they're going to be told that AI doesn't see skin color, doesn't see gender, doesn't see sexual preference. AI is just the law. It's 100% perfect. Technology's perfection. It doesn't have any faults. And then they're all going to realize when it's too late that we're enslaved by it. That you can't leave these cities, that you're going to have your footprints monitored. Then they're going to roll in their carbon footprint and say, look, Now we have all this technology in place now. Well, now the climate's getting worse and worse. And now while all this is in place, we're going to have to shut you down. You're not going to be able to leave your apartment for X amount of time. You're not going to be able to go to the grocery store more than once a month, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the beginning of it. So they're creating these stories by design. They're gaslighting the people out there. They want conservatives to think it's migrants who are unidentified. Think about that narrative with the migrants, right? Illegals crossing over unaccounted for is the conservative way that they're working in what is not called smart cities, which is going to be called freedom cities. The digital ID is going to be in both with just different marketing, with different manipulation tactics to get everybody on board, right? In the freedom cities, we'll hear all this stuff about, well, you can't be in the freedom city if you don't have your ID because then we're going to keep migrants out, these criminals out. Right? And everyone's going to go, yeah. And they're not going to think further ahead of what this is really about. Remember, the Republicans and Democrats are working together, but they have to do this differently to manipulate different groups of people in different ways. Obviously, conservatives aren't going to go along with all this stuff that they want to do right out in the open. But Trump and the conservatives are going to trick them into digital currency with Bitcoin. They're going to trick them into digital IDs. Different tools of manipulation as they divide us into different states. It's almost like saying, hey, you're going to go to this penitentiary because you're a Democrat. You're going to go to this one if you're conservative. That's what they're attempting to do. And they don't want you to realize that they're the ones who are responsible for doing all of these events. The news is more manufactured, more scripted than anything in any movie you will ever see. There is more truth in movies. It's not just an expression. It is a fact. So let's look at the two stories just so we could side by side, look at the two things happening at once, right? Multiple women online say they're punched while walking around New York City. Of course, no motives. Why would a motive be needed, right? The guy just sees a woman. He's like, I want to punch her in the face. All of a sudden, in the history of humanity, this is the type of behavior. People are like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm too busy to think for myself, so I'm just going to think that this is all really occurring because it's on the news, which is scripted. Which is why people like me aren't allowed to speak openly because they don't want you to realize that the media, all of it, Fox, left and right, alt-right, Daily Wire, it's all controlled. It's all scripted. They're building a fake reality in your mind so that you want what they're going to implement next, which is this smart tech, conservative and Democrat. Ready? Several women have come forward on social media sharing incidents in which they said they were punched by men while walking the streets in downtown Manhattan in broad daylight. Multiple videos, which were uploaded to TikTok, have picked up traction in the last week with women online sharing their safety concerns and comments and reply videos. One woman said she was assaulted walking home from class. Another said she was assaulted on her way to work. A third woman said she was attacked walking her dog. At least two of the women described suspects with similar characteristics. New York police said they made an arrest in one of the incidents and are investigating another, while police wouldn't confirm that the incidents described in the TikTok videos are those they are investigating. They shared that they're looking into multiple cases that are very similar to the accounts posted online. The videos have circulated amid widespread perceptions in the U.S. that crime is rising, despite recent FBI data that suggests it decreased last year, right? So that's another thing that they do. They use these data points to manipulate both sides, right? They're convincing liberals that the crime isn't as bad. Obviously, conservatives see all this stuff and they believe it, right? They look in the liberal media and Fox, not Fox, but ABC, NBC, CNN, right? Conservatives look at it and they go, that's fake news. But then when they show you these stories, they're like, look what's going on in these liberal cities. This is insane. We got to stop this. So they don't realize that they're being manipulated. They think that they're smarter than they are. They don't realize the whole thing is a scripted reality, right? This is a simulated reality because they're controlling the perception that we're having of what's going on. They're planting stories. They're planting people. People are like, how do they do that stuff? They don't understand how the secret societies work, okay? Freemasons at the lowest levels and DeMolay, okay? This is all on the website. The stuff with the DeMolay, the Freemasons, the Eastern Star, at the lowest levels is how they plant actors in these positions to act out these roles for the betterment of the brotherhood. They're sworn to oaths, okay? These are death contracts that they sign, okay? They're not going to come out, and even if they do come out and turn on their brotherhood, they'll be Mozarted. That's my new term, Mozarted, because I have a video up on the website about Mozart. Okay, because people don't even know about Mozart. Like, Mozart, oh yeah, Mozart. Mozart was turning on the Masons. That's why you see all these pictures of Mozart's funeral with just a dog chasing his casket and no people attending his funeral. It's because he turned his back on the Brotherhood and was planning on exposing it, and they whacked him. Okay? So anyway, that's what happens if these people turn on the brotherhood, on the fraternal order. But that's how they get these people in place. And when people are, the other factor is, of course, the CIA's involvement with the illegal immigrants that are coming across. They're hiring these people to do these staged events. These people are unaccounted for by design. They're accounted for with the government, but they're going to be unaccounted for in the court systems, etc. They're never going to be, charges are never going to be pressed against them. They're allowed to run amok. All the crimes you see, all the robberies in California, this is all done by design. And the people in California, the people in New York who aren't going to leave, they're going to agree to smart city AI governance. Because if you haven't left yet, the next move is for you to agree to, hey, this is how we're going to stop it. They're going to go, I think it's good. We're going to do a test run here. We're going to do a test run there. Ooh, have you heard our fake data points we put out? 0% crime. And they're going to go, oh, yeah. So back to my point about the data they put out. It's all manipulation. Nobody knows anybody who's ever been in these data polls. Like, data shows. And then even in those polls, they go like 1,000 people were polled. Oh, 1,000 at how many million, billion? Oh, right. Okay, right. But nobody knows anybody who was ever polled. And they're like, oh man, 70% of people are going to vote for, remember, I talked about the red wave a few years ago. They were like 70%, 80%, it's going to be a red wave. It was all psychologically done to say it's going to be a red wave and then have it be a blue wave so that everybody goes, oh man, everything's rigged. And again, that's playing into 2024 and the fake elections. This is all psychological, okay? So back to the story here. Concerns over public safety have continued to loom in New York. A series of recent high-profile crimes in the subway systems prompted Kathy Hochul to send National Guard members to some of the busiest stations. In February, police reported a decrease in shootings, murders, and other crimes like grand larceny, as opposed to February of last year. However, there was a 3.6% uptick in felony assault, with 1,968 incidents reported to police last month. So on the flip side, as we hear this story about women randomly getting punched in the face, I mean, I don't know what's next of, the other stories like kids abducted in broad day. I mean, the stuff that they're going to continue to put out there to make you want what they want. And it's not a matter of if they're going to be able to do it. They are. But they have to convince you that there's a reason they're doing it because they don't want a mutiny on their hand. Because remember, the only thing we have to our advantage, okay, other than having salvation through Christ for those of you that are saved, the thing we have as civilians to our advantage is numbers. In every single war, it doesn't matter what weapons the other side has. People will die, okay? But people will lay their lives down, and eventually the numbers will win. Numbers games always win. There are way more of us than them. So if they can keep you in psychological bondage, and you can't break free from the left-right paradigm, and you can't break free from what they're doing, and then you get sucked in to fake revolutions like Trump, nothing will ever occur. Right? So they fear numbers. So they can't just come out and go, hey, we're shutting it all off. We're putting everybody in smart cities. We're doing this. We're throwing out business owners. Everybody would see, all of a sudden, all that left-right stuff would separate because people would go, hey, wait a minute. This guy's got a family. This guy's got a business. What are you doing? You can't do that. We didn't give you authority to do that. Well, people are going to ask for this now. So AI promotes public safety and reduces crime. This is also stuff you'll find on the World Economic Forum's website. In addition to the AI governance and smart city implementation, they talk about how data in smart city pilot spots, how the data is reducing crime, right? Remember, you're the data. Monitoring and tracking you, movements, breaths, purchases, everything to reduce crime. Okay, and people are like, that sounds great. I'm not committing a crime. Then all of a sudden you realize you are the criminal that they're trying to reduce. You're the footprint they're trying to reduce because you might not think you're a criminal because you're not going into stores and robbing stuff. But the reality of the matter is they want you to literally live like a prisoner lives. And that's what the plan is here. So these articles out there talk about combating threats of terror and activity, all uses of public safety, all this stuff with banking activity, all monitored through smart city AI governance is actually reducing crime activity, and it's promoting public safety. So this is the solution that they're going to start pushing towards everyone as they continue to gaslight them with stories like this. Like, what's the motive of the men punching the women, by the way? They just don't like girls anymore. Is that it? Right? Nobody, they don't need a motive, right? The conservatives, their motive is, they're all migrants. Okay, so what's the motive of the migrant crossing the border? Realize that these people are paid for by the government. They're operatives, okay? These stories are scripted and staged. They're telling that guy to go punch this woman and punch that woman right in front of a camera, right in the middle of broad daylight, not getting arrested. Nobody jumps the guy. Nobody calls for the police in the streets. It just goes right up on TikTok conveniently, right? This is staged. It's a psychological war. Never forget that, because all these stories out there are manufactured to manipulate you, to make you think a certain way or want something that they already have planned to enslave you with. I thank everybody for being here. Share this video with people. Get the word out that I'm back. I thank you again, everybody. God bless all of you and your families.